Hey, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Fuel for Success, the only internet talk show that you get the two of us. I think that's a good thing. Hey, it's good to see everybody
I
on
think
here
it's a
this
good
morning. I know it's a good thing. Today is Thursday. It's a wonderful Thursday, the last Thursday in May. It's hard to believe it's almost like officially summertime. That's crazy to me. But just like every Thursday, we're going to talk about business development, and entrepreneurship. And I'm excited about that. How are you
How
doing
is
today, my
it
friend?
possible this year is literally almost over? What is considered the halfway point? The middle of June? Is that right? Like June 15th, wouldn't that be considered like the year half over?
That's a great question. Probably the end of June.
January, February, March, April, May, June. Yeah, July 1st, I guess. Haha. Al has a question for everyone. Are you still pumped? Are you, Mike? Are you just as excited today as you were January 1st?
I am excited. I am also still having network issues and have got a call scheduled with the engineer today, so hopefully we'll get this resolved before tomorrow. But
So
I didn't catch that. Sorry.
that's okay. I love your whiteboard, man. So this is show 107 here.
107.
Mike, I like what Julie said. She's more pumped than what she was on January 1st. There you go. Awesome to hear. So is Sherry. So is Carol. So
Yeah.
is Joe Giletti says do Chinese numbers one day.
Yeah.
Can you do Chinese numbers, Mike?
Yeah, sure. Actually, David suggested that yesterday, and he said good morning in Chinese this morning. I think that's Chinese. Um,
Hmm.
so I will
Well, the
definitely do that.
Miami Heat are going to Game 6 Friday night. Indiana Pacers pulled one out last night, but I'm going to tell you right now, it is not even humanly possible that the Pacers are going to win in Miami Friday. So all you Indiana fans, all these false wishes or just maybe you got like a half a percent. You don't even have a half percent chance. Miami blows it out Friday night, winning 6, just like I predicted. Sorry.
Is that soccer?
I figured I'd throw a little sports into our business and entrepreneurship show.
Sports is such a great source for analogies that it's good to know about sports because there's so many powerful things. Um, I'm obviously I know that's basketball. Of all the sports, I'm a basketball fan the least. So um,
Your least favorite. Mike,
pretty
of
much.
all the business ideas you've seen and heard, which was just the stupidest, in your opinion, that now you eat your words and you're like, whoa, I literally never would have dreamt in a million years that that would have worked.
Um, that's a really good question
Besides,
because huh?
I said maybe besides Facebook.
That was the first thing I thought of, and it wasn't a bad idea. It was just a bad implementation, and it still is. Um, you know, I probably this is crazy, but Zappos. I mean, online shoes.
Really?
That's like the worst thing you could sell online.
Well, one of the things that you and I do as business partners is we read the same book at the same time and we talk about it. And I think this is good for marriages. I think this is good for people that I think that enough CEO or CEOs and business owners don't buy books for their team enough.
Yeah.
When I had a full time staff, 10 full time staff members, I had them all read one book a month. Literally every month, I would bring a new book and hand it out and give it to them, and we would all read. It was mandatory to read that book, read one book a month. Now my standard is at one book a week. But we actually read the Zappos story. Um, so now that you mentioned Zappos, because today is business and entrepreneurship, which, by the way, welcome to Jessica. This is her first time here. So, yeah, we'll be talking about that in a minute, Joe, the paintball guns there. Mike, let me ask you this. Um, in your opinion, we both read the Zappos, but I've watched a lot of interviews by Tony. I've seen a lot of stuff that people talk about Zappos, but you're so right. Like literally online shoes in a world where most people wouldn't buy a pair of shoes unless they tried it on.
Right.
And what are some things why do you believe Zappos was so successful? You read the book. I know you've studied Tony. I know you've heard interviews. Why do you believe Zappos was so successful?
Why do I think they were so successful? I think just their execution. I think they executed very well. Um, interestingly, I just read a blog article by Gary Vaynerchuk yesterday that talked about um, focusing on the things that are important. And he talked about the clouds and the dirt. And he said, focus on the things that are important, the concepts, and then focus on the details, ignore everything else in between. And so Zappos, their corporate ideals were extreme customer service and taking care of the customer. And they rocked at execution. And that was I think that was their, mode for success.
Well, and they did a lot of little things right that companies their size overlook. Case in point, I think if I'm not, correct me if I'm wrong, like when they go to hire someone, before they even like hire them, they'll offer them $1,000 not to take the job. Is that correct? Like if they'll offer them $1,000 if they'll be willing to quit or something. Tell me a little bit about that. I read that somewhere. Do you know much about that?
I don't remember the exact details, but yeah, there's sort of a reverse incentive that they put in if it's during the first 30 days or before they get hired. I don't remember the exact details, but there's an inverted incentive that says, basically you get cash if you'll leave the job or not take the job, so that they definitely what that does is filter out the people who don't actually want to work there, who aren't motivated by the ideals and the passions that fuel the company. That's definitely
Yeah,
one.
absolutely. They create an environment. I know Tony is extremely big on having the employees fall in love with where they work and love their job. How important do you believe that is in business success? Because we're going to dive into some business success today. How important is it, do you believe, as a CEO or as a business owner, that somehow, some way you hire people that are motivated, that not only are talented, that not only execute? Case in point, you know, Southwest Airlines only hires according to attitude. Like they have this philosophy that they can train anybody as long as they have the right attitude. So their hiring process is literally all about finding people that have the personality that exemplifies the Southwest spirit. That's what I listen. I've flown on every airline, and I can tell you this: the flight attendants at Southwest are the most fun. They're the most lighthearted. They have the most personality. They sing on the flight. They crack jokes when they're making announcements. They have personality when they come and order your drink or ask if you want peanuts or pretzels. You know, like I'll say no thanks, I don't want any, and they'll throw two bags and say, well, tough, you're having some anyways. You know, and then joke. You know, so I really believe in that. I believe that in business we overlook we always are looking for the most talented person or the person that maybe is the hardest worker, and sometimes we overlook the attitude aspect, and we overlook the aspect of trying to find people that love to work. Like, for example, sometimes I'll ask people, hey, you know, hello, or I'll say to people, I'll say, you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm not
Hold on
sure
one
what's going
second.
on there.
All right, so listen to this. So basically, what happened is that yeah, my Voxer started going off. What
Oh,
happened
okay.
was I thought it was like a surprise guest on the
Yeah,
show,
like,
man. Anyway, um, so in my opinion, like I'll go into companies and I'll ask people, "Hey, how's your day going?" And they'll be like, "Well, I guess it's all right. I'm at work." I'll be like, "Hey, how you like your job?" I'm like, "It's a job." Like those kind of people should be fired on the spot. Like literally, if a boss or a CEO or somebody caught wind of someone even halfway portraying that type of attitude, think of how Disney trains their employees. I've studied the whole Disney philosophy and I'm fascinated. I've read every book that I have found about Disney World because I'm fascinated by their business model. I'm fascinated by the way that they even train janitors. Listen, janitors go through training, not just how to like pick up trash or where to take the trash to, but like they go through people skill training, attitude training. I think a lot of people that own businesses overlook the value of training their employees. Now, we teach the employees how to run the cash register, how to fulfill orders, how, this is what we want you to say when you answer the phone call. And I like what Christy said at Disney, they're paid well. You know something? I believe that, you know what, even more than just being paid well, I believe that people, do you know how many, Mike, we watch The Profit, right? We love The Profit. Remember the story of the key lime? What is it? The key lime factory? Is that
yeah.
right? The key lime pie factory. The fact that the lady only made $300 a week, and Marcus asked her, "Well, why do you work here?" And she said, "Because I love it. I love working here, and I love the people." So it wasn't even the paycheck that kept her coming, even though she was a single mom. It was the environment. It was the people. I think in business, those are the kind of people you should be looking. Marcus gives three things that are key in any business success: people, process, and product. But if you ask him, he'll tell you the most important are the people. And I think when you study companies such as Apple, for example, go into any Apple store, and you'll find that those people wearing those Apple t-shirts that work there love Apple. They light up when you ask, "Hey, how do you like working?" I've never in all of the years that I've gone. Sometimes I go into Apple just to go in, because I love the atmosphere. I love the store. But I've never met an Apple employee that was like, it's a job, right? They like light up, their eyes get real big. And I just think that because this is business and entrepreneurship, I think we overlook that element of finding employees that are fanatics about your service and your product. And I think a lot of it has to do with the hiring process. I think that every company should know exactly what they want in an employee. And I think a lot of them don't. Like
Yeah.
they're hiring for talent, they're hiring because they got a college degree, or maybe they've had experience in this area. But be aware that you overlook the element of passion, someone that's motivated, someone that has high energy, someone that goes above and beyond. Like I've known companies literally that in their hiring process would strategically like throw paper cups in the hallway, like a paper cup or two, trash, on the way into the interview office. And the potential employee that would pick it up on their way in and like throw it away or carry it in and set it in the trash, they would hire him. But the ones that would walk past the trash, even if they were qualified, had the degree, had the experience, they would not hire them because they walked past the trash.
That's interesting.
Something for you to chew on, my friends.
Hey, quickly, Jessica mentioned that her husband loves his job, but they're not necessarily treating him well when he talks about working full time. And then Britton's talking about the way her boss treats her. And there's a couple of different that shows me or points out an interesting concept in that employees can love their job for one of two reasons. One is they may just really enjoy the work, and the other one is they may really enjoy the work environment, right? So, and if you can create an environment where your employees love the work and the environment, then you've got a serious winning combination. So I would assume that, like Jessica's husband, for example, loves the work itself, but the management isn't necessarily treating that well, so the environment isn't that great. Britain's job isn't her dream job, but the environment is wonderful because her boss treats her well. Imagine if you have both of those, how motivated your employee would be.
Mike, anybody that's a manager that's watching this show, anybody that's a CEO, anybody that owns their own business, this could be the show that changes your business forever. Because if you hire a manager that's arrogant, that's distant from the employee, that thinks he's up here, that doesn't know the art of personal touch, that doesn't know the art of giving compliments or encouragement or affirmation, that doesn't know how to motivate the employees, your business, it may not die today, but it's the beginning of the sinking of the Titanic. You cannot survive off unmotivated employees. You can't. You won't. You'll have a high turnover rate. Your business, your customer service will suffer. Every aspect of your business will suffer. And this, I love what you said, Mike. Some people are treated amazing at where they work, and that motivates them to want to do better. I don't get how people miss this element that when you treat people like gold, it makes them want to do better. I mean, think about animals that are loved and that are affirmed and that get treats. Man, they'll do anything for you, right?
Right.
And one more thing I wanted to say about that, because I thought about this just as um, Britton and Julia talked about. I think it was Julia said that her dad taught her that if she found a job that she loved, she would never have to work a day in her life.
Right.
And that's so true. I really believe that. I really believe you should go for what you want and what you love, and it won't feel like work to you. But that's a whole nother topic there.
Great. Hey, we've got a few questions in the queue. Obviously, we've been fielding some comments and questions from the viewers here. By all means, everyone that's watching the show, go ahead and click in over there, type a question. You can ask a question down below. Even click on camera if you're so inclined um, to come on camera. But I've got a few questions sort of in the hopper here. I want to get to the first one, Matt, because I really like this. And you and I are both entrepreneurs. We both launched businesses. And let me ask you this question: what is one mistake that you've made in business that you could share with us? Maybe something we could glean value from.
Well, I could share 100. But one mistake that I feel like I've made in business is not being proactive to communicate. That is one huge mistake that I made, because what happens when you start a business and business is business. It's cutthroat, it's busy. It literally, when you go into business, you accept the fact that if need be, you work till 4 a.m. and you sleep an hour and you're back on the clock at 5. Like, that literally is the reality of it. So what can happen is you can get really busy with execution that you fail to communicate. Probably one of the biggest mistakes I made. And then the other mistake sometimes when you're an entrepreneur and you're an idea guy is you can get too many ideas going at one time and never really make one of them unbelievable, world class, jaw dropping, excellent. And that's, I think, both of us, Mike, because we literally, like, I don't get how people are not in business, because we've got like 40 ideas in our mind that I really believe if we drove the lane in any of these 40, it's like I said the other day, listen, there's many paths to massive wealth. You just have to choose what path you're going to take and stay in that path. And sometimes, in my years of business, I've made mistakes by not staying in the path. And because I have many passions, it's easy to get sidetracked into veering off before you should. That's one for me. What about you, Mike?
I also have hundreds. Try to narrow it down. Something that Joe said. Joe said he loves his boss, and of course he's self-employed, works for himself. And one of the lessons that I've learned, sort of the mistakes, is that you really, really have to way down deep inside internally, like own everything that you're doing. when you're an entrepreneur, when you're a business owner, and there's nobody else that can, um, nobody else is going to pick up the ball. Nobody else is going to cover your back. It's at the end of the day, it's you. And you mentioned that if you got to work till 4 in the morning, you got to work till 4 in the morning. You just do whatever it takes to make it happen. Um, and it's easy to sort of, especially if you're coming from a corporate job or from working for someone else. uh, it's easy to sort of miss that. One other thing, and my wife mentioned going too big too fast. Watch cash flow. That's huge. And cash
Yeah.
flow is, I could talk 20 episodes on cash flow. Without cash flow, your business isn't going to survive. You're not going to be able to pay your bills. It adds stress. It's a very difficult thing. And so, and really what she's saying there is watch your expenses versus your income, right? And you don't want to increase your expenses to overwhelm your inbound cash flow. And had I learned that lesson, I don't know, 8 years ago, 9 years ago, I would probably own a pretty successful and large consulting business right now. That one crashed. So
Oh, well, that's good stuff. And I wholeheartedly concur. I wholeheartedly agree. And I've seen that mistake. I've lived that mistake. And it's more common than what we realize. That's why a lot of businesses fail because of those reasons right there. Um, yeah, I love what Al said. He said, How did you fail to communicate? You're a huge communicator." I just pray that none of my staff is seeing Al's comment right now.
you,
I am a communicator, Al, when I communicate. The key is when I communicate. Sometimes a personality like mine does not like to slow down and do the non-inspiring, motivating work, and so that became tough. To be real, I mean, I live in a high drive um, flow, and sometimes to like slow down and just deal with something that's not like world changing or inspiring or motivating. I used to deem that as not important, and that really brought some consequences. It really did. The lack of communication. So I've learned to try to slow down and just pay attention to details. I think I'm getting better, but I still have a lot to improve on.
I would agree. I personally, same thing here, especially proactive communication. It's so easy for for me, sometimes, and I know you can relate to this, Matt. I mean, sometimes I'll get 300 text messages, 400 emails, and 26 phone calls in a day, and there's literally no way to respond to all of those. And sometimes there'll be actually a really important phone call, and a week will go by, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I haven't returned that phone call yet. And it's not because maybe it's a priority issue or whatever, but not being proactive in that communication. And it's amazing uh, how easy for it is for those things to sort of slip. And like I say, a week goes by, and a week to someone who's waiting for an answer, especially if I'm the bottleneck, if I'm the gateway, seems like an eternity. So uh, you know proactive communication is definitely something that I'm also working on right now. So
And the thing of it is, when you're of the type of person where straight up you care about every text and every email, and you respect any human being that's willing to email you, even if it's a question that maybe you've answered before in a book or on Fuel for Success. Sometimes there's the temptation of, someone may ask a question, and you're tempted to just, maybe not acknowledge it, and it's not that you don't care, but that literally is that's the breaking point for some people, is when it matters to you. Like, it matters to us. I know this about both of us. It matters to us to return every call and every text and every email. Like, we literally want to. There's no such thing as somebody not being important enough. But at the end of the day, You literally have to prioritize because, like you said, it doesn't matter if you started at 5 a.m. and went all the way till midnight. You're never going to stay caught up. So it's all about the effort, in my opinion. It's all about the motive, the passion behind it, to want to try, to make an attempt, to make a stab at it. But like you said, anything that's related to your business, I tell you what's amazing, and let me speak to the church world. Do you know how many thousands of churches that don't have a live person that answer their phone? Like, to me, that's one of the highest crimes that exist, and that's a very broken process in a lot of churches, that they don't have a live person answer the phone when the phone rings. Who's Steve Wozniak, Joe? Is that? Oh yeah, yeah, started Apple. Yeah,
Wait, did you just not know who Steve Wozniak was?
I knew who it was, but I'm thinking to myself, and I don't mean this insulting. I totally knew who it was. I was thinking maybe there was somebody else because I'm thinking to myself, well, of course he would put his phone out of public because no offense, but who would be calling him? I don't mean that arrogantly. I really don't. But did you call him, Joe? I mean, I guess I will call him. If he's got his phone number out in public, I guess I'll call him. I mean, um, I totally knew who he was, but isn't he just like he's not really? It's not like he's. Anyways, that's a whole nother subject. It's totally. I hope you're not watching, Steve. Forgive me, because I'm gonna call him, Joe. I really am. Give me his number. I really will call him. I'll call him, pick his brain, and I'm not even kidding.
Hey, I can't hear
Mike, you still
anything at
there?
all. So if I'm awkwardly staring into the distance here, I apologize.
Well, I like what Sherry said. She said something my husband and I made a mistake over was not trusting when help presented itself. And this is something that some people struggle with, especially when it comes to delegation, especially when it comes to hiring people. It's tough. And this is a major transition for people that are in startup companies because when you're in a startup company, you personally, you and your family, put your blood, sweat, and tears. You put your house on the line. You emptied your savings. You maxed your credit cards. You worked 18-hour days. And then to hire somebody you don't even know to like bring into your world is a risk. And that's why you've got to have a very, very thorough hiring process. You've got to know how to ask the right questions, and you've got to be able to evaluate people's character, and you've got to watch for the small things. And I think this is why it's good for people to watch Shark Tank. I learn a lot. I actually have watched every Shark Tank episode. And what I've gained the most is how the sharks follow their intuition and even pass on opportunities because of a red flag or because of something that's a little fishy. And they ask the questions, they ask the tough, hard questions to find what they need to find before they invest. Take this same principle in your dating life, take the same principle in the hiring process. For you that are getting ready to hire people, use the same principle that they follow on Shark Tank in asking questions, and then don't be afraid to say I'm out. Don't be afraid to pass on an opportunity. What you know what? You know what I believe hurts businesses? Desperation. I believe this hurts relationships, and I believe it hurts businesses. When you need, John Maxwell says, if you need people, you can't lead people. If you operate out of neediness in business, or even though you do need, there's got to be a confidence that God and your own intuition is going to hire the right person, and you're willing to wait and pass on good so you can get great. This applies to so many areas of our life. You got to be careful of neediness when it comes to the hiring process, because sometimes I don't know if is that me or Mike cut out. Can y'all still hear me? Bye, Mike. Mike is out. Okay, you can hear me. That's good. I know there's been a lot of good comments. I haven't really been able to check them all out, but we're almost out of time here. But thank you guys. I love that you guys all interact. I love that you guys um, share your thoughts. Hey, this is so true, Joe. Joe and I have talked about this a lot. Not hiring an assistant who is super organized when it comes to starting a business. I totally believe that the number one secret to success is having a very, very extremely detail oriented, competent assistant or secretary. So I totally agree with that. Carol's right. Don't hire family or people in your church. It's just a good principle. And I'm not saying never, but just be cautious about it. Mike, welcome back. We missed you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Al said, "Why
I
not? Don't."
would Kev.
Al, it's okay to hire family. It is. You just be careful with it. As long as your family has, okay, ready for this? Don't hire family because they need a job. Hire family because they qualify. And that's a big difference between hiring your cousin Bob because Bob needs work rather than hiring Bob because Bob's qualified for the job. So, okay to hire
Right.
family as long as family exemplifies your values and the service that you want to project in your business, and as long as they're willing to execute like anybody else. And too many family members have entitlement mentality in business, and that's where you got to be careful. And sometimes the reason why some experts will say don't hire family is because it's harder to confront family, and then family takes it personal. And then sometimes, business, sometimes you got to have the hard conversations, and it's not as easy to have that kind of conversation if you hire your dad or you hire your brother. Again, too many businesses hire family members because family members need money. You're better off just giving them money than hiring them and bringing them into your business and totally shipwrecking what you're, all of that good stuff. Anyway, Mike,
Hey,
go ahead.
just two quick things. One is I'd caveat what Joe said about hiring an assistant. Um, Keep in mind cash flow. That was actually one of my mistakes because the employees are expensive, and he said make sure you hire an organized assistant right away, um, if cash flow allows it, definitely. Otherwise, you're going to have to do all that work yourself. Uh,
There you go, Sherry.
that feels better. And then um, the other thing, and you talked a little bit about the hiring process, and I think maybe even more important than that is that if you want to be fanatical about having the right employees at a business, you need to be ready uh, to fire people and to let people go, and that is very difficult if it's family and church. So that's another reason to sort of avoid that, because you can have the most thorough hiring process in the world and bring somebody in a week in, realize they're just not a good fit.
It's all about the fit. It's all about chemistry. It's all about it. It's all about the people, the process, and the product. Man, I'm a believer in that. My boy Marcus is so right on that. Anyways, Mike, I know we're way over late. We're late going over today, but thank you guys so much. Carol said she got fired. By the way, you need to read the book called "I Got Fired and It Was the Best Thing That Ever Happened to Me." That's the title. I think it's by Harvey Mackay or whatever, but it's phenomenal. He talks about all the greats of the world that were once fired. So don't. Sometimes getting fired is the best thing that could ever happen to you. That's a whole nother topic. But hey, I love all the interaction, Mike. A lot of people have been asking questions and a lot of comments today. Thank you guys so much. That's what this show's all about. We want to interact with you. We want to hear from you. And you're always welcome to ask questions. If we don't get to your questions in today's show, we'll get it next week, next Thursday. We're every Thursday on business and entrepreneurship. Jessica, thanks for joining us for the first time today. Always welcome back. We every day at 9 a.m. Tomorrow, Mike, we'll be closing out the week with family and relationships. Looking forward to it. You guys have an awesome day, my friends.
God bless. We'll see you tomorrow.